there's a lot of old family recipes that are really important, and this guy next to me has one. I personally am Ukrainian. You're Ukrainian too,
Ukrainian
right?
also, yes.
And he's going to make us a Ukrainian dish. We love different ethnicities on the Culinary Edge. What are you going to make us?
I'll make a real Kapusta. It's not sauerkraut or cabbage. It's a combination of both with other ingredients in it.
Kapusta, which is something that I've been eating for a long time, but I have to say George's is one of the best kapustas I've ever had. George, first of all, where did you learn this recipe?
I learned it actually from my mother and my grandmother. My grandmother came from Lvov in the Ukraine. My mother was born in the United States, in Pennsylvania. But the kapusta was a family dish. It's by all Ukrainians. They make it at the holidays, Easter time, Christmas time, and any time that anybody wanted to have a good meal. You take barrel-cured sauerkraut. Then you take coleslaw, cream coleslaw. It's a little sweeter than regular dry coleslaw, and it adds a little more flavor to it. Then you have to saute your onions. And you saute with a little bit of garlic after the onions are sauteed a while. And I'm going to add some shiitake mushrooms. Then we have the kielbasa, which gives a flavor to the sauerkraut and to the cabbage. This is going to be for sauteing the onions.
So George, you know Ukrainian, huh? You can speak it?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any curse words?
Oh yes, I know a few choice ones. I'm heating it up. I'm going to add the coleslaw now also. And you have to mix it all together so that the sauerkraut and the coleslaw are all mixed together.
Okay. You got a little friend waiting for you to drop something on the floor, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's Josie. She eats just about everything. I also had an assistant who chopped up the onions and chopped up the garlic and cut up the kielbasa.
Who's that? This be my mom, right? That's how I know you? Nice.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Right on. You did a good job chopping up the onions. and
Thank
stuff.
you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I'm told that I am an apprentice.
Oh, nice. Awesome. That's good.
Apprentice?
Nice. How'd you get that job?
I was assigned. Thanks a lot, George.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Waiting for everything to cook. Do you have any jokes?
I'm trying to think of a joke that's not dirty. Guy, his wife wanted a present. She said, I want something silver, and it goes up about 150. So he went out and got her a scale. The onions are pretty well sauteed, so now you get the garlic to it, and this is chopped garlic. You should always use good fresh garlic. And as soon as I'm done with that, I will add it to the sauerkraut and cabbage here. As I said, I've added some mushrooms to it also, which I'm going to add to the sauerkraut now. This should give it an extra special flavor. They're called grebe.
Oh, is that how you say mushrooms in Ukraine?
Mushrooms in Ukraine are grebe.
Do they have mushrooms in Ukraine?
Oh yes, they have what they call a white mushroom. And the aroma is so tremendous and so potent, you use maybe 2 mushrooms for a large roast or for something like this.
Adding that to the cabbage, the sauerkraut, the mushrooms.
Mix it thoroughly so that everything's mixed up together.
What do you think, Josie?
Now that I've mixed the onions and garlic in there, I'm going to add the kielbasa to really give it the good flavor now. This kielbasa is garlic. It's a Polish kielbasa, which is very good. It's the same as Ukrainian or Russian kielbasa.
This kapusta is smelling really good. Yeah. So the Kapusta's looking good, huh?
It's coming along very good, yeah. The kielbasa has to get nice and plump. It does that in the juice of the cabbage. And the flavor goes all the way through the cabbage.
So we know your name is George. What's your full name?
My full name is George Salowich Stevens.
Okay.
Now, in Slavonic, the original name would have been Georgi Georgievich Sabatovich.
Nice.
But when my grandfather came over from the old country at Ellis Island, somehow they came up with the name of Salowich. So I changed it to Stevens when I graduated from college because they used to slip on the name Salowich.
And they did that in Ellis Island, huh?
They did that in Ellis Island when my grandfather came over in 1890. We've been here for quite a few years.
Okay, so the Kapusta is ready. I guess the water is boiled out of it.
Right.
It's ready to go, and the kielbasa is kind of plumped up.
Right.
So I'm gonna try it out. Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's even it's got a lot of flavor in there, and the kielbasa is really great. I've tasted Kapusta before that was much heavier. This is much lighter. Seems like it's easier to eat.
Right. Well, in the old days, a lot of them, they didn't have kielbasa, they used salt pork.
Right.
But the salt pork usually you made it a little too fatty, and you'd have grease like on top of the kapusta. But the kielbasa is not that greasy.
Yours is sweeter, I noticed too.
Well, that's because I use the sweeter cabbage.
George, thank you for having me. How do I say thank you in Ukrainian?
Дякую.
Дякую for making your Kapusta for us.
Okay, дуже дякую теж. I mean, thank you to you also.
All right, there you have it. From the Culinary Edge, Kapusta, Ukrainian style.
There's a guy sitting in a bar and sees a beautiful lady sitting at the bar, further down the bar. So he goes and starts talking to her and buys her a couple of drinks. He says, well, honey, let's go in the motel and enjoy ourselves. And she said, I'm a lesbian. He said, no shit, how's everything in Beirut?
Right on.